Hey, beautiful. Welcome back to Magnetic Love, the space where you learn how to elevate your love life, step into your feminine power, and create relationships that are deeply fulfilling. If you're new here, I'm so glad you found us. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a conversation that could change the way you date forever. Now, let's get real for a second. There's this narrative floating around that sex is the ultimate weapon a woman has when it comes to keeping a man. That once you've got that physical connection, the emotional connection will naturally follow. But I'm here to tell you something different and frankly, way more empowering. Yes, sex is important. Chemistry matters. But if you think sex alone is going to make a man fall in love with you, you're playing the game with the wrong rules. The truth is, there are needs men have that are stronger than sex. Needs that tap into his heart, not just his body. When you understand and meet those needs, that's when a man doesn't just want you for the night. He starts imagining you for a lifetime. So in today's video, I'm going to walk you through 5 powerful emotional needs that make a man not only stay, but fall deeply and irresistibly in love. Ready? Let's dive in. One of the most overlooked emotional needs a man has, the one that quietly drives his connection to a woman, is the need to feel admired. Now, I know what you're thinking. Of course, men love being admired. They like hearing that they're attractive or successful or strong. And yes, those compliments might make him smile in the moment, but I'm not talking about surface level admiration. I'm talking about the kind of admiration that reaches into his soul and makes him feel seen in a way that most people never take the time to do. Most men are used to being admired for their achievements, how hard they work, how much money they make, how tall they are, or how confident they appear in a room. But those kinds of compliments are often generic. They're about status. They're about the external world. And while it's nice to have those qualities recognized, they don't touch a man emotionally. They don't create that feeling of, wow, she sees something in me that no one else sees. And that is the key to unlocking a much deeper kind of connection. A man falls in love, not when you tell him he's impressive, but when you notice the parts of him that are rarely acknowledged, when you admire the way he talks about his family, when you appreciate his honesty, his sense of loyalty, or how seriously he takes his responsibilities, when you see the thoughtfulness behind his actions, maybe the way he quietly takes care of the people around him, or how he's always observing before he speaks. These moments may seem small, but they're powerful. Because what you're doing is validating the core of who he is, not just what he performs for the outside world. When a woman gives that kind of admiration, something shifts in a man. He begins to associate her with emotional safety, with warmth, with feeling understood. He starts to realize, she gets me. She sees the things about me that most people miss. And let me tell you, that feeling is addictive. That's the kind of connection that doesn't fade when the chemistry wears off or life gets stressful. It lasts, it grows, it pulls him in deeper. Now, here's the beautiful part. When you start to admire a man this way, not out of manipulation, but because you're genuinely paying attention, he naturally wants to live up to that version of himself, that version you see. It challenges him to be better. It inspires him, not because he feels pressure, but because your belief in him gives him permission to believe in himself. That's not just admiration, that's emotional intimacy. That's what makes a man feel truly loved, not just wanted. So the next time you're with a guy you care about, go beyond the obvious. Look for the little things. Compliment the way he calms a situation. Acknowledge how he honors his word. Notice the values behind his actions. That's the kind of admiration that makes a man fall, not just with his body, but with his whole heart. He needs to feel like he can win with you. A lot of women don't realize just how deeply a man's emotional connection is tied to whether he feels successful in the relationship. Not successful in the financial sense, but emotionally. A man needs to feel like he can win with you, like he can make you happy, like he can show up for you and know that it counts, that his efforts aren't just noticed, they're appreciated. When a man feels like he's constantly falling short, like nothing he does is ever quite enough, he starts to emotionally shut down. He starts to withdraw. And even if he stays physically, his heart quietly begins to check out. Here's why this happens. Men are wired to pursue, to strive, to solve. It's not because they think you need fixing, it's because part of how a man bonds is by contributing. So if every conversation feels like he's being corrected, criticized, or told what he's doing wrong, the relationship starts to feel like a test he's doomed to fail. No matter how much he likes you, he'll begin to feel that being with you is exhausting, and that's a dangerous place to be. Now, let's be clear. This doesn't mean you should coddle a man or walk on eggshells to protect his ego. Not at all. You should absolutely speak your truth and express your standards. But there's a way to do that that still leaves room for him to feel like a hero in your story rather than the villain in every scene. It's the difference between saying, "You never do this right," versus "I love when you do this." It means a lot to me. One invites connection, as the other builds resentment. When a man feels like he can get it right with you, that his efforts land, that he's appreciated, that he can grow with you, he stays invested. He starts to feel proud of how he shows up in the relationship. He wants to rise to the occasion, not because he's afraid of losing you, but because you bring out the best in him. That's what emotional partnership looks like. You challenge each other, but you also believe in each other. And belief is a powerful thing. Most men go through life with their guards up, waiting to be told they're not enough. When a woman shows him he is enough and that he's capable of being even more, he doesn't take that for granted. So ask yourself, am I creating a relationship where this man feels like he can win? Where his love can land, where he knows that being with me is a space where he can succeed emotionally, not just survive? Because when he feels that, he doesn't just stay, he thrives. And when a man thrives in love, he invests everything, his energy, his loyalty, his heart. But that's not about playing games, that's about creating emotional alignment. And that, more than anything, is what keeps love not just alive, but magnetic. We often talk about emotional intimacy as something women crave, but the truth is, men crave it too. They just don't always know how to ask for it. And most of the time, they've been taught not to. From a young age, boys are told to toughen up, to be strong, to never let their emotions show. Vulnerability, that's often equated with weakness in the world they grow up in. So when a man finds a woman with whom he feels emotionally safe, it's not just refreshing, it's life-changing. You see, most men walk around wearing armor, not because they want to be distant or cold, but because they're afraid of being judged, misunderstood, or worse, rejected for showing a side of themselves that feels too real. But when you create a space in your relationship where a man can let down his guard, even just a little, you unlock a version of him that most people never get to see. And more importantly, you become someone he doesn't want to lose. That emotional safety doesn't come from always agreeing with him or pretending everything is perfect. It comes from how you respond when he's struggling. It comes from those moments when he says, "I've had a rough day," or "I'm not sure I'm good enough," or even just, "I don't know what I'm feeling right now." And instead of shutting him down or analyzing him, you hold space for him. You listen. You don't rush to fix. You don't shame him for not being stronger. You just let him be. And it's in those moments when he realizes he can be fully human with you, that he can cry, be uncertain, express fear or doubt, and you still see him as capable, desirable, and masculine. that's when something shifts. That's when his connection to you deepens, because suddenly you're not just someone he dates, you're someone he trusts. Someone he can go to when the world feels too heavy. Someone who gets it without needing him to be perfect all the time. When a man feels safe enough to be vulnerable, he doesn't become weaker, he becomes more emotionally available. And emotional availability is the foundation of deep, lasting love. That's where real communication lives. That's where bonding happens. And yes, that's also where passion flourishes, because he doesn't feel like he has to compartmentalize his feelings to stay attractive to you. So ask yourself this: am I creating a space where the man I'm with can breathe emotionally, where he doesn't have to perform strength, but can show up in his full complexity and still feel loved? Because when a man experiences that with you, he won't just want to stay, he'll need to stay. Not out of obligation, but out of emotional alignment. You become the woman he associates with comfort, depth, and truth. And that is stronger than any spark. That is the foundation of real love. There's something deeply attractive, almost magnetic, about a woman who has her own life. A woman who is rooted in her own purpose, who fills her days with things that light her up, and who doesn't make a man the center of her universe. And yet, this is one of the most misunderstood dynamics in dating, because for years, women have been told that the key to keeping a man is to be available, agreeable, and all in from the moment things start to feel good. But here's what most people miss. A man doesn't fall in love because you orbit around him. He falls in love because you have your own gravity. When a man sees that your world doesn't stop spinning just because he's entered it, it shifts something in him. It shows him that you are a woman with standards, with passions, with depth. You're not just sitting around waiting for him to text. You're living. You're doing things that make you happy with or without him. And ironically, that's what makes him want to be a part of your life even more. Because no man wants to feel like he's responsible for someone else's entire sense of fulfillment. That's pressure. That's weight. But when he sees that you're fulfilled on your own, his presence in your life starts to feel like a privilege, not a responsibility. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's not about playing hard to get or acting detached. True independence is not a game. It's a mindset. It says, I want love, but I don't need someone to complete me. And that energy, it's irresistible. It's rare, because it tells a man that you're choosing him from a place of wholeness, not from desperation or loneliness. And when a man feels chosen, not clung to, he steps up in a completely different way. Think about it. Would you rather be someone's hobby or someone's inspiration? Men fall deeply for women who inspire them, not by chasing them, but by living fully, by having dreams, by nurturing friendships, by taking care of their own emotional well-being. When he sees that your time has value, that your life is already rich and full, he doesn't want to take it over. He wants to earn his place in it. And that's when pursuit becomes sincere. That's when love becomes intentional. So if you've ever found yourself overinvesting too soon, or rearranging your schedule, overthinking every text, putting your needs on the back burner just to keep a connection alive, pause, breathe, and come back to you. Ask yourself, what do I love doing? What makes me feel confident, energized, alive? Because when you're in touch with your own joy, your own power, your own rhythm, you radiate something a man can't help but be drawn to. And in that space, you don't just attract love, you attract the kind of man who respects, cherishes, and values your independence, because it shows him the kind of woman you are. Let's talk about something that completely flipped the narrative around what keeps a man coming back for more. Not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. It's the idea of being a challenge. Now, before you raise an eyebrow and think, wait, am I supposed to play hard to get? Hear me out. I'm not talking about game playing. I'm not talking about withholding affection or using manipulation to get him to chase you. I'm talking about a specific kind of challenge, one rooted in feminine energy, playful confidence, and deep self-worth. You see, men don't fall in love with predictable. They don't fall for women who simply go along with everything or shape-shift to make them feel comfortable 24/7. That might feel easy in the moment, but it doesn't captivate. What really draws a man in, what gets into his psyche and makes him crave more, is a woman who brings a spark, a woman who's playful, who teases, who can laugh at herself and at him, but always with warmth. A woman who keeps him just slightly off balance, not with drama, but with mystery, with energy, with emotional range. Being a playful challenge means you have opinions and you're not afraid to share them. It means you can say no with a smile, that you're not afraid to disagree, and you're confident enough to do it without fear of losing him. It's about showing that while you enjoy him, you're not dependent on his validation to feel secure. And that creates a beautiful tension, one that makes him want to rise, to engage, to lean in, because suddenly he's not just in the presence of someone who wants him, he's with someone who inspires him to work for her affection in a way that feels exciting, not transactional. And here's the key. This kind of challenge is never cold or punishing. It's not about making him feel small. It's about drawing him upward into the best version of himself. When he sees that you won't just say yes to everything, that you have boundaries and that you live by them with grace and kindness, he starts to respect you in a different way. You're no longer just someone who's fun to be around. You become someone he wants to impress, not with money or status, but with who he is. This kind of feminine challenge doesn't shut down connection, it builds it. It invites deeper play, deeper passion, and deeper emotional investment. Because it says, I'm not here to be controlled or conquered. I'm here to co-create something beautiful with someone who can meet me where I am. So be that challenge. Be soft but strong. Be playful but purposeful. Show him that loving you means stepping into something richer than comfort. It means stepping into growth, passion, and presence. And when a man feels that, he doesn't just desire you, he adores you. So let's bring it all together. We started this conversation by challenging the idea that sex is the most powerful force that makes a man fall in love. But now you know better. You know that true emotional connection runs much deeper. A man falls hard, not when his physical needs are met, but when his emotional needs are truly understood. When he feels admired, not for surface level traits, but for who he is. When he feels like he can win with you, not through perfection, but through consistent effort that matters. When he feels safe enough to be vulnerable, to drop the armor and be seen for real. When he sees that you have a life that inspires him, that your happiness doesn't depend on him, but it includes him. And when he feels that playful challenge, that spark that keeps the connection exciting, magnetic, and alive, that's what makes a man fall deeply. That's what makes him stay. And more importantly, that's what makes him invest, not just in the relationship, but in you. If you're watching this and thinking, I want to be that woman, know that it's not about changing who you are. It's about stepping more fully into your power, into your value, into your worth. You already have everything you need. You just have to stop shrinking, stop doubting, and start showing up like the woman who knows what she brings to the table. And if you got value out of this video, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this with a friend who needs to hear it today. And I want to hear from you in the comments. What was your biggest takeaway from today's video? Which of these emotional needs surprised you the most? You've got this. You are magnetic. You are worthy of extraordinary love, and the right man, he'll see it. But first, you have to see it in yourself. Until next time, stay confident, stay radiant, and keep showing up as the most powerful version of you.